Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English Without Rush, the podcast where you can improve your English through slow, clear, and natural conversations. I'm Daniel. Today, Emma and I are going to talk about a problem that affects many English learners. You understand the question. You know some vocabulary. You know the grammar. But before you answer, your brain starts doing a lot of work. First, you translate the question into your language. Then, you create an answer in your language. After that, you translate the answer back into English. By the time you are ready to speak, the conversation has already moved on. Does that sound familiar? Today, we are going to talk about how to train your brain to think more directly in English. This does not mean that you will stop translating completely in one day. It means that you will gradually create a stronger connection between English words, ideas, images, and actions. We will share practical exercises that you can use every day. At the end, we will also review useful vocabulary and give you a speaking challenge. Take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin.
Translating is a natural part of learning a new language. When you are a beginner, your first language is like a bridge. You see the English word chair, and your brain connects it to the word for chair in your language. That bridge helps you understand. The problem begins when you depend on the bridge for every sentence. Imagine that someone asks, "What did you do yesterday?" Your brain may begin a long process. First, what does this question mean? Then, how can I answer in my language? Then, what is the English word for this? Then, which verb tense should I use? This process requires a lot of energy. It also makes speaking feel slow and stressful. But the goal is not to fight against your brain. The goal is to give your brain a faster path. Instead of connecting English word, translation, meaning, we want to create English word, meaning. When you hear coffee, you do not need to see the word in your language. You can imagine a cup of coffee. You can remember the smell. You can think about your morning routine. That direct connection is the beginning of thinking in English, and you already do this with some words. When someone says hello, you probably understand immediately. You do not need to translate it carefully. The same thing can happen with longer expressions, but it requires regular practice.
One mistake learners make is trying to think in English with very complicated sentences. They want their internal English to sound advanced. So instead of thinking, "I'm tired," they try to create something like, "I'm experiencing a considerable amount of exhaustion because of my demanding day." That sentence is possible, but it is not necessary. When you begin training your brain, simple English is better. Imagine that you are preparing breakfast. You can think, "I'm hungry. I'm making coffee. The water is hot. I need a spoon. The bread is on the table." These sentences are simple, but they are useful. Your brain is connecting English directly to actions and objects. You are not studying a list. You are using the language in a real moment. You can do this during different parts of your day. While getting ready, I'm brushing my teeth. I'm looking for my keys. I'm running late.
While working, I need to answer this email. This task is difficult. I'll finish it after lunch. While walking, the street is busy. It looks like rain. That car is moving very slowly. You do not need to speak every thought out loud. You can think quietly in English. The important thing is to use the English you already know. Do not wait until you know thousands of words. Start with 10 words, then use 20. Then build small sentences. Thinking in English begins with simple thoughts, not perfect thoughts.
Another powerful method is to learn complete phrases. Many learners study isolated words. For example, decision, reason, possible, depends. These words are useful, but during a conversation, you still need to build the entire sentence. Complete phrases are easier to use quickly. For example, "That's a good question. Let me think. To be honest, it depends on the situation. The main reason is, I'm not sure, but as far as I know what you mean." When you learn these expressions as complete units, you do not need to build them word by word. They are ready to use. Imagine someone asks, "Why are you learning English?" You can begin with, "That's a good question." This gives you a moment to think. Then, "The main reason is that I want better opportunities." Now you have a complete and natural answer. These phrases also help you stop translating because they become automatic. You hear a situation, and the expression appears. Someone shares a difficult experience. "I know what you mean." Someone asks for your opinion. You say, "To be honest." Someone asks a question without one simple answer. It depends. Try choosing 3 useful phrases each week. Listen to them, repeat them, write your own examples, and use them during speaking practice. Over time, these phrases become part of your natural English.
A very practical way to think in English is to describe what you see around you. You do not need a teacher. You do not need a special application. You only need to pay attention. Look around the room. What can you see? Maybe you can say, "There is a laptop on the desk. There is a black cup beside the laptop. The window is open. The room is quiet." Now add more details. The laptop is old, but it still works well. The cup has some coffee in it. The window is open because the room is warm. You can also describe people and situations. Imagine that you are waiting for a bus. You can think, "There are 5 people at the bus stop. One man is looking at his phone. A woman is carrying a large bag. The bus is late. I hope it arrives soon." This exercise is useful because you are connecting English directly to reality. You see the action. You create the sentence. You do not need to translate a prepared idea. Another exercise is to describe what you are doing. For example, "I'm opening my computer. I'm checking my messages. I need to finish a report. After that, I'm going to have lunch." At first, your sentences may be very basic. That is completely fine. The goal is speed and connection. Complexity can come later.
To think faster in English, you also need to practice answering simple questions quickly. Not perfectly, quickly. Choose common questions such as, "How are you today? What did you have for breakfast? What are you doing later? What do you normally do on weekends? Why are you learning English?" Then give yourself only a few seconds to answer. For example, "How are you today?" "I'm doing well. I'm a little tired, but I'm okay." "What did you have for breakfast?" "I had bread, fruit, and coffee." "What are you doing later?" "I'm gonna finish some work and then relax." The answer doesn't need to be impressive. It only needs to be clear. When you practice this regularly, your brain learns to search for ideas directly in English. You can also use sentence patterns. For past activities, yesterday I, this morning I, last weekend I. For opinions, I think, in my opinion, for me. For future plans, later I'm going to, this week I want to, next month I plan to. Sentence patterns reduce the amount of thinking you need to do. Part of the sentence is already prepared. You only need to add your information. And remember, speaking slowly is not a problem. Pausing is not a problem. Using simple vocabulary is not a problem. The problem is believing that you cannot communicate until your English is perfect.
You do not need to live in an English-speaking country to create an English environment. You can create small English-only moments during your day. For 10 minutes, try to use only English inside your mind. You can choose a specific activity. For example, during your morning coffee, while walking, while washing dishes, before going to sleep. During those 10 minutes, describe what you see, what you are doing, and how you feel. You can also ask yourself questions. What do I need to do today? What am I worried about? What am I looking forward to? What was the best part of my day? Then answer in simple English. Another idea is to change some everyday content to English. You can use English on your phone. You can follow English-speaking creators. You can listen to short podcasts. You can watch familiar videos with English subtitles. The goal is not to understand everything. The goal is to make English feel normal. When your brain sees and hears English regularly, it becomes less foreign. And when English feels less foreign, thinking in English becomes easier.
Many learners stop completely when they do not know one word. They think, I cannot express this idea because I do not know the exact vocabulary. But communication is flexible. You can explain the word using simpler English. Imagine that you forget the word umbrella. You can say, it is something you use when it rains. If you forget the word coworker, you can say, a person who works with me. If you forget the word appointment, you can say, a planned time to meet someone. This skill is extremely useful. It teaches your brain to stay inside English instead of immediately returning to translation. You can practice this as a game. Choose an object. Explain it without saying its name. For example, it is a small device. I use it every day. I can call people with it. I can take photos with it. The answer is a phone. This exercise improves vocabulary, speaking, and thinking speed at the same time. It also teaches you that one missing word does not need to end the conversation.
Let's create a simple routine for training your brain. It only takes about 10 minutes. Minute 1 and 2. Look around and name 5 things in English. Minute 3 and 4. Describe what you are doing. Minute 5 and 6. Answer 2 everyday questions. Minute 7 and 8. Repeat 3 useful phrases. Minute 9 and 10. Talk about your plans for the rest of the day. For example, I'm going to finish this task. After work, I need to go to the supermarket. Tonight, I want to watch a series. I also want to practice English for a few minutes. This routine is simple enough to repeat every day, and repetition is what creates automatic language. One 10-minute practice will not completely change your thinking, but 10 minutes repeated many times can create a real difference. Your answers become faster. Common phrases appear more easily. You begin to notice that some ideas come directly in English. That is progress.
Before our final challenge, let's review some useful expressions from today's episode. The first expression is, think directly in English. This means connecting English to an idea without translating first. Example, I'm training myself to think directly in English. The next expression is, build a connection. To create a relationship between two things. Example, I want to build a stronger connection between English words and real objects. The third expression is word by word. This means considering each word separately. Example, do not build every sentence word by word. The next word is automatic. Something automatic happens quickly without much conscious thought. Example, with practice, common expressions become automatic. Another useful expression is describe your surroundings. Your surroundings are the people and things around you. Example, I practice English by describing my surroundings. And the final expression is explain it another way. This means communicating the same idea using different words. Example, if you forget a word, try to explain it another way.
Today, we learned that thinking in English is not a special talent. It is a skill that you can train. Begin with simple thoughts. Learn complete phrases. Describe your surroundings. Answer common questions. Create short English-only moments. And when you forget a word, explain the idea another way. You do not need to stop translating completely today. Every time you connect English directly to an action, image, feeling, or idea, you are creating a faster path inside your brain.
Be patient with yourself. At first, thinking in English may feel slow and unnatural, but with regular practice, it becomes easier. One day, you will notice that a sentence appeared in your mind before the translation. That small moment is real progress. Tell us in the comments, what will you do today to practice thinking in English?
Thank you so much for listening and practicing with us. Subscribe to English Without Rush and turn on notifications so you do not miss our next podcast episode.
Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep training your brain to think in English. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.